So, first bit of audience participation. Who loves making decisions here? Ah, excellent, excellent. What was that?
I love it when they have been made.
Yeah, sure. Well, you might have seen that it was kind of a minority of the crowd that enjoyed making decisions, and I think a large reason for that is because our brains aren't really wired for what's called loss aversion that happens when we make a decision. Because when we make a decision, that often means cutting off a whole bunch of other options. And then we often have a fear of missing out. That fear of missing out turns to regret, and then it often leads to anxiety when we next need to make a decision. And so it becomes this very frustrating cycle. And so it's no surprise why a lot of us don't love making decisions. You know what? I probably don't love them either. I wrote a book on making decisions. I don't love it. But I've actually started learning that making decisions and really giving them a lot of thought and introspection is good for me, in the same way that I don't love working out, but I know it's good for me as well. So, I'm going to share with you a regret that I've had. I've worked through it, I think, but for a long time, it kind of ate away at me. And so, some of you might recognize this logo. It is Atlassian is a great Australian tech startup story, and I had the pleasure of working there in 2011. I had the pleasure of working there. That's not what I regret. What I actually regret is leaving. When I was working there, I was working as a software tester, and Atlassian, being the very forward-thinking company, started changing the way that software testers work. And I was 29, going on 30, thought I knew everything, and I thought I knew better, and I just said, you know what, you guys don't know what you're talking about, I know better, I'm just gonna leave. And it's only recently that I've been able to manage the regret that I've had around it. This happened in 2013, and Atlassian have gone on to do great things. I like to think I've gone on to do great things as well. But yeah, for a long time it ate away at me. And that kind of regret can really disturb one's peace of mind. And I don't want that for me, I don't want that for you. And hopefully some of the things that you'll learn today might help you minimize these kind of regrets. So just a disclaimer, this is the same disclaimer I offer in the book. I'm going to talk about medical, investing, and career decisions. For each of these domains, there are professionals that exist that can inform you and give you professional advice. I am not one of them. I'm going to talk about the process. I'm not endorsing any particular option or any kind of choice. It's the process that I'm going to talk about here. So, one of the things that I've learned about decision making is that if we focus on the results, that can often make it difficult to learn from what happens. That's because results are often a tangled mess of skill and luck. So in the case where I left Atlassian, I just basically jumped ship and thought, you know what, I'm just going to take some time to explore and just to reflect and do some soul searching. I was able to find another job fairly quickly, and it paid better, and I felt more comfortable there. However, in a parallel universe, that kind of decision could have left me unemployed for who knows how long, and maybe on the edge of financial ruin. Who knows? And so when we look solely at the results, it's difficult to know how we could have improved our decision-making process. And so what's the alternative? What what I want to demonstrate today is the idea of having a process where we can clarify our thinking leading up to the decision, and then a way of documenting it, and then a way of reviewing and evaluating that decision without necessarily needing to look solely at the result. So these are the 3 simple steps. First of all, we need a way to clarify our thinking. And so this is a process of taking a look at the options, getting them down in front of us on a page, like on a document or a piece of paper, and working through each of the options and trying to work out the rationale for choosing. So I'll go into that a little bit deeper. I'll just go through all these steps. So you got the chart stage, which if you're thinking about an adventure that you're planning, you're charting all the different paths that you could take to the place where you want to go. And so there might be a few different options. You want to just get them out in front of you. Then, at the choose stage, you have a read of all the rationale, and then you pick the best one and you document it. And you set a date to review your choice. And you also possibly take some steps to commit to that particular decision. And then finally, you've got the check stage, which is where you review your decision and you can evaluate whether you feel like your decision process is good or whether it can use some work. And you can then bring those improvements into your next decisions, and it becomes this virtuous cycle of improvement.
Decide what to choose.
Oh, that's a good question. So what if at the choose stage you can't decide? Yeah.
I'm in a situation like that now.
Oh, well, you remember the second phase? Remember the second phase of tonight? I think we got our first volunteer. Everyone, yes, round of applause for Sylvia. I think the crowd have basically said you're going to be the guinea pig. Yes, good one. Yeah, maybe we can run through it, Sylvia, if you feel like it. Otherwise, we can have a chat later on. But when I run through this decision process, I very rarely find I've got like a tie break between all the options. Generally one becomes a front runner. I guess
in some ways, not choosing to do something is a decision.
that's a great point as well. Yeah. So
If you want it all.
what if you want it all?
That's why you don't want to choose, because you want it all.
Yeah. So I think that goes back to what I was talking about before, where the regret comes in, because when you take a couple of steps down your path and you start getting the challenges,
Yeah.
then you kind of start wondering, what if I chose path B? What if I chose path C?
Yeah.
And so that's something I'll probably go into a little bit more when I talk about the check stage, when I go deeper into it, because not all decisions commit you or lock you in the same way. Sometimes you have that deadlock because you don't know enough about each, and sometimes the only way you can learn about each is by taking one step down the path on path A, and then maybe taking a step back, and then just checking them out. The bottom line question there is kind of, how do you know which choice is going to be best for you? And unfortunately, no one has a crystal ball.
I just wanted to say, what if they both work out? What if it ends up being 2 books? And they are both successful?
Yeah, so like it's kind of the chart stage in that you have the options in front of you. And sometimes when you have the options in front of you, you can see other options that emerge. So for example, like maybe you don't have to commit completely to one, you can have like a hybrid option. Then the check stage, it's that's about taking a few steps down the road. Well, actually, that's the choose stage. You take the first few steps down the road, and then on the check stage, you can reassess. And there's different criteria that I'll tell you about that can allow you to reassess, and then you take action accordingly. Great question, Sylvia. You get a book, and you my friend yes, Chris. You get my book as well. So you're welcome. Just afterwards, just come around and I can get your contact details. Great. This is great audience participation. I can't believe it's a Monday evening. Thanks, everyone. All right. So, chart stage. So, this is about mapping the uncertainty, kind of like what Sylvia was talking about with not knowing which choice is going to be best for you. And while none of us have crystal balls, we can try to clarify what our thinking is. Because sometimes the anxiety and the uncertainty is much bigger when it's in our heads than after we've written it down. I can tell you that sometimes I feel really anxious about something and I write it down and I just see that it's there's just kind of this little unknown over here, and I can do some research to kind of work it out, and that's very manageable. Whereas when it's up here, it's just swirling around and it's just very difficult to get your arms around. Now this might be a big surprise to you all, but I'm a bit of an overthinker. And so sometimes when I tell people about this decision-making process, they say isn't there a bit of a danger of overthinking? And I think there is. When I go through this decision-making process, I use this matrix to work out whether the decision is worth thinking about or not. And so you can see here, this is just basically a way of sorting a broad categorization of the decisions. So on the bottom right-hand corner, you have decisions that are higher reversibility. Oh, sorry, let me just talk about the matrix. So the matrix on the horizontal axis is how reversible the decision is, and on the vertical axis is how much impact, how high or low the impact is. And so with, for example, what Sylvia was talking about, there are quite a few things, quite a few options that were reversible. Am I right? You can kind of dip your toe in the water a little bit, and then you can see what it's like, and then you can step out. And so, for decisions that are in that bottom right-hand corner, where they are high reversibility and low impact, chances are you're going to be overthinking, right? Because you can just jump in and learn about whether it's right for you or not, and then jump back out. And anytime you really spend thinking about it is lost time actually learning about the reality of what's going on. On the other hand, you got these decisions in the top left-hand corner, and these are high impact, low reversibility, and it's funny because I say this is often related to medical procedures and wisdom teeth extraction, and people will say, wisdom teeth extraction isn't a real medical procedure. It was for me. Before I had my teeth pulled out, it seemed like a big deal. And so just give me this. And so with something like a wisdom teeth extraction, it is high impact. At least it felt like that to me at the time, in terms of the physical discomfort and the cost. And in terms of reversibility, it is it's very low reversibility, right? Once I pay the money, once the teeth are pulled out, none of them are coming back to me, right? And so these kind of decisions probably deserve a little bit of thinking, and I thought a lot about it. And so here are some of the other thinking tools that I have in my book. So, and they're all basically framed by a question. So listen to your gut is framed by the question of, if you were to flip a coin, which side are you hoping that it would come up? So if I say heads, I leave my job, tails, I don't, and then you just kind of like don't look at it, you've got an idea of which way you're hoping it lands, and that's kind of your gut. And then there's a somewhat abstract tool called the luck thought experiment, which is framed by the question of, if you were to arrive at your current situation by luck, would you want to keep going or would you want to change? And so this is to tap at the idea of sunk cost fallacy, the idea that we don't like to lose what we have or what we think that we have. And now they're getting a little bit more abstract, but I think just as powerful. There's the idea of what would you bet. So with each decision that we make, there are different outcomes that come from it, and we can make an assessment of how probable we think those outcomes are by how much we're willing to bet on it. So in this next tool here, there's this very complex table of me mapping out, okay, so if I do extract teeth with local anesthetic, then I think the first, basically one consequence is physical discomfort due to being conscious during extraction. And then I ask myself the question, and then what? Maybe persistent flashbacks of physical trauma. And then I ask, and then what? Disrupted sleeps, slowed recovery, and mental anguish. You can kind of tell what's going on in my head, right? And so the question then becomes, what would I be willing to bet on these things happening? And usually when I ask myself that question, I can kind of get an idea of okay, well, I think some of these things, they have a possibility of happening, but I wouldn't be willing to bet money on it, in which case I can kind of rule them out. So that's the first step, which is the chart step. Any questions on that before we move on to the second one? Yes, Sean? Yeah, so the question was, should there be another dimension, which is the urgency of the decision? And yeah, I think there's a bunch of dimensions that you can put in here. Definitely, this is just basically like a sorting mechanism to just kind of think about, is it worth how much time to put into thinking about it? Now you're right as well. How much. If it's a deadline that I need to decide on tomorrow, then yeah, you're right. That is something that needs to be taken into account as well. Oh, sorry, Emma.
Sorry. So when is the
when you say you have to make a decision, right?
yeah, you make a choice.
Yeah, that's it. And also, as Chris, I think was saying, not making a decision. It was Chris, right? Yeah. Not making a decision is a decision as well. So it's. Well, what you're asking is, what's the difference between a gamble and a decision-making process? It's a good question. It's a little bit philosophical, but I think when you're gambling, it's kind of there's not really anything you can learn from. You kind of just roll the dice and see what happens, and if it comes up sixes, then what do you learn from that? Right? It's an independent process each time you roll. Whereas when you have a process where you actually document what you were thinking, then you can learn. You can kind of learn about blind spots, which is what I'll go into when we talk about check-in. You can learn about blind spots, and you can carry that into decisions that are specific to that domain, or even generally learning how the meat between your ears kind of work. So, yeah.
You do learn something by.
Yeah, it's I don't really have a good answer to it apart from it's kind of difficult to, like, if you're seeing things in terms of roll probabilities, like let's say you kind of say like one in every 6 times I leave a job, I go into a dud job, but 5 out of 6 times I make it. It's just kind of it's hard because there's so many variables that go into each thing that it's difficult to know whether it is the same gamble.
No.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Great question, Zhuang. Zhuang gets a book as well. Hey! Yes, come on, give him a round of applause. That's a good question.
How many books have you got?
Not printed, so I am the printing press. Yeah, so please, everyone that I said I'm going to give a book to, please come and see me afterwards. Okay, so this is where we take one of the parts, one of the options, and we commit to them. Something that Sylvia said she was having trouble with. So hopefully some of those thinking tools maybe gave you some things to clarify. And so this is probably the shortest part of the process. Please don't get intimidated by this, but this is what it looks like to document a decision. This is my decision to leave my career in software testing in 2018 to pursue a career in AI. And so, just to break it down, there are, I can use my laser pointer. So you can, we have a few details about the time when I was making the decision. Oh, also the selected option here. I've set a review date. That's very important too. And this is the rationale behind my decision. So a big block of text there, I'll just summarize it. So each of these are answers from those thinking tools. And this paragraph down here is what I basically say is like, this is what it all adds up to. So yeah, I've got like all these outputs from these different thinking tools, and the rationale becomes taken together. These tools are guiding me towards leaving my current role for the opportunity to build a career in the field of AI. Yeah, I'll just read this bit. So, while I could build a career in AI while continuing in my role part-time, this would significantly slow my progress. Thus, I'm choosing the most aggressive option of resigning from my current role to commit all my focus to study and building my new career. And so, that's what the rationale looked like. So hopefully that provides a little bit more like concrete. Well, when I was talking about rationale before in the chart stage, maybe it was a little bit abstract. So hopefully that makes it a little bit more concrete. I also list the options that I didn't choose, and that's important from the perspective of seeing whether I had any blind spots in my thinking. Were there some options that I wasn't thinking about? I think when we're talking about Sylvia's decision, there was a suggestion of maybe pursuing a hybrid option. So that's why we list those things there. Then there's a kind of savagely named kill criteria, which is quite harmless, very useful. It's basically a line in the sand where we just say, this is how I know that the decision isn't working. And I'll go into more details in that later. And then all this stuff here is kind of just the what do you call it? The long form of this stuff. So you can kind of ignore that. That's almost like thinking out loud. So kill criteria. I love the line from I think it's from The Gambler. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And so know when to walk away, know when to run. I won't burst into song. it's a way of knowing that my decision isn't working out, and it's time for me to take a step back and to reassess and possibly choose a different path. And so, in the decision that you saw before about me leaving my comfortable career in software testing, one of the kill criteria I put in was that when my savings dips below a certain level, that's the time to basically say, okay, you're risking financial ruin here. It is time to take a step back and be a bit more conservative and maybe find a job in software testing where you know you can where you can get results and make money fairly easily. That idea of kill criteria is quite important. So I'll just take a pause. Does anyone have any questions about that or the choose step? Yes, Sasha.
I've got a question about dealing with that.
So the question is, how do we deal with the emotional inputs into decision making? Is that a fair summary?
How do you chart it? You know, do you just put them in that?
It's kind of hidden in these details that I glossed over. So I record my physical state, emotional state, and mental state, and so it's not. I think it's a bit understated in terms of what you're thinking about. Because I think what you're saying is useful to acknowledge the emotions that go into it, and I think there's that saying that we kind of make decisions with our emotions and then we rationalize it later on anyway. So I think to try to have a completely separate rational decision-making process might be like it might be difficult to do, and it might not be effective either. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, it is in there somewhere in our head. It's so important.
Yeah, I agree. The idea of writing emotions down is definitely something that I think is underrated, and I will talk a little bit more about that later on. Thank you, Sancha. Sancha gets a book here as well, yay! I feel like Oprah, except I'm not giving away cars, I'm giving away books. Okay, and now we come to the check stage. So this is the stage where it's kind of closing a loop on the process. I think it's often missing from decision-making processes as well, because a decision is basically just choosing, and then did I get what I want or not, and then not really thinking about the process. And so I think this is a really important stage that is often overlooked. There are two main stages to this. One is weighing the info, so having a look at the rationale and seeing, okay, so given where I'm at the moment, would I have benefited from like some other information sources, or like was there a particular blind spot in my thinking? Were there options that I didn't consider? When we can revisit those blind spots, we can plug those insights into future decision making and we can become more confident decision makers, hopefully reducing the anxiety and the regret. The second step, the second evaluation criteria is decision discipline. And this ties in quite closely with the idea of kill criteria as well. So decision discipline is basically the idea of, did I stick to what I said I was going to do? If we take the example that I had about changing my career into going from a comfortable career in software testing to a career in AI, you can imagine there's a lot of rejection because you're going from the top. Like I was going from the top of my craft and then starting again. And so now I'm getting rejection letter after rejection letter. And that's like such a sharp contrast from like being headhunted like every month, right? And so I'd be tempted to, like, after 3 weeks of doing this, to just basically say, like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm just gonna go back to software testing. However, but because I've documented my decision, because I documented the rationale, basically saying like, I know AI's, well, I have a strong feeling that AI is going to take off, so I want to jump on this train before it leaves. I basically ask myself, has anything changed there? And if the answer is no, then it's basically like, well, you just got to stick at it, buddy. This is what hard looks like. Same thing with the kill criteria as well. Yeah, I talk to myself. I do. Yeah, I call myself buddy. And so, same thing with the kill criteria as well. Like I think I said I had a savings threshold of $10,000. So if I'm like at $13,000 or something, like I still haven't reached that point yet. So the question is there any reason why you should change? Like maybe the cost of living has gone up or something. That's a valid reason to change. But if nothing has changed and I'm just feeling sorry for myself, then I just got to keep going at it.
What you're doing now.
Oh, my career decision?
You know the examples you gave in 2018.
Yeah, sure thing. What's your name, sorry?
Kerry.
Kerry. Thanks, Kerry. So, yes, you also get a book, of course. So I ended up getting a job in 2019 I quit my job in late 2018. I spent I think it was about 6 months doing some self-directed study. I ended up getting very lucky and working for a startup that basically tries to predict the behavior of donors. So like they work with not-for-profits and stuff, and they use machine learning and AI to predict the behavior of their donors. So like, for example, if Kerry, wasn't it? Kerry? So if Kerry donates to, let's say, Greenpeace, Greenpeace are going to want to know, given the details that we have on Kerry, then she might decide to leave our regular giving program in about 6 months. So we're going to give her a call up and we're going to tell her how valuable a donor she is. I'm surprised this works because I hate being called by my donors, by charities that I donate to, but the charities loved it. They didn't just survive, but they thrived through COVID because a lot of the charities basically said, we need this. We can't afford to be just spraying out our mail to just anyone. We need to really be targeted. So it works. The world works in mysterious ways.
Is that AI?
That is AI, yeah. So there's different types of AI. AI, as it's known these days, is like what's called generative AI. That's like the ChatGPT and the Claude's type of products. This is more kind of a narrower type of AI called machine learning. But, yeah.
And are you glad you made that decision?
I am, yes. I am very glad. Thank you.
How do you feel about?
The comment was, how do I feel about working in AI and yet having this creative side of me as well that is potentially getting ripped off by AI as well? And don't have a good answer for it. Like, it's one of those things where I can't just I choose not to just stand on the sideline because then I'll get left behind. At the same time, I really feel for the people that I don't rely on my writing to make a livelihood, but there are people that do, and it's a tough situation, and I don't have a good answer for it, unfortunately. Yeah. If you scan this QR code, it takes you to my website. It links to the book, links to my newsletter. If you join my newsletter, you get a free decision journaling template, so you can fill in. You can basically just fill in and go through the process there. There is a link to an accountability community that I am running in case you want to work on decision discipline, and my socials and ways to get in touch with me as well. So thank you very much, and you've been a fantastic crowd. Thank you.